1.3, residential one at 1.25, or so they wanted to keep the residential.
So why don't we go 3?
Wow.
Well, they brought in a consultant that said that's how you're going to pay.
Andrew, you got to go to the board.
That's
You gotta go to
crazy.
the city meeting.
So what commercial go up?
2.
2. So we only one doing up 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was, I think school was in its own category, then business, and then residential.
Nothing like taxing yourself
I was
twice.
gonna say, you're just it's just going in a big circle is all it's doing.
Yeah.
You're chasing your tail on that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
And
have,
that was Mullenbach's argument too. I mean, he made some good arguments.
wow. I thought it was across the board.
On your car wash and your.
Yeah, everything else goes up.
I did not know that. I wonder why how those prices went up at the car wash, but not.
Oh, did they go up?
Oh, yeah. They went up like the last 30 days.
He's got best car wash.
Oh, it's awesome. That's why I go there all the time.
I'm a tight one. I'm a 7 and go. Whatever it is, the cheap one, I get it, just go.
Drive right through it.
2.5 now 8.
I did not know there were different rate structures. So who advised that? Would that
They
come
brought
from?
in an outside consultant to figure out how to do all the bonding and everything, because, I mean, it was some major stuff for the city that had been put off for 20 years or more.
Yeah. Wow.
I can't see.
We looking
I
forward
just tried to see who's on there.
No,
2 minutes.
they shine that over on the Prez rather than.
Can you tell me who's on Zoom?
Hi, Amy.
Stacy,
I,
Amy,
Stacy, Vic,
do we want
Everett,
to
Ashley,
get you a chair to sit right
Sam.
behind?
I'll just stand. I'm just gonna be here for the
Cindy
presentation
and
part, and
Sunday.
then I'll go back to Zoom.
Are you all right?
I just don't want to present on Zoom. I don't like that.
I just feel like
If it's okay.
I would like to give you a
Sam,
chair.
stay.
Yes.
Yes, hello. How are you guys?
Sam,
Good.
Like Amy, I can get you one.
One right in the hall too.
You can come sit down. I don't want that.
okay.
nope, he'll catch up. He's
And
gonna
the
catch
doors are open, we confirmed.
It is, you can do that.
Jason, you let me know when you've got everything set up. I think we are at 6.
Okay.
No, I mean, you can go ahead and start.
Okay,
We
we
have
good,
it more.
Jason?
Yep.
Okay, so at 6 o'clock, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Gail, can we have a roll call?
Tyler?
Here.
Jeff?
Yep.
Sean's not here yet. Deb?
Here.
Andrew?
Here.
Okay. And did you want to do this now to talk about who is on Zoom, or did you already get what you needed? We have several people present from the administrative staff on Zoom. Do you have what you need?
Is Mike there?
He could be supervision, so
Okay.
he will be.
I'm good, Deb.
Okay, sounds good. I will entertain a motion to approve the
I
agenda.
move to approve the agenda.
So moved, seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Agenda is approved. We will begin the first portion of this meeting with public forum. There are 2 speakers that we will have speak. I spoke to both via email, and they will have 5 minutes to present. And I believe they will both be doing so via Zoom. So I'll do, I believe we have Everett Charleston going first.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, thanks.
Okay. My reason for coming as a representative of the GEA was a couple things we wanted to discuss was first things I want to talk about was masks. And I just wanted to let you guys know our appreciation as to the idea of having masks be mandated in the schools. First off, from a teacher standpoint, I think that took a lot of anxiety and dropped that down for a lot of people. And I wanted to let you guys know that the students have been fantastic. I don't know what you guys don't hear from but the kids have done great. I literally have had 0 problems in my classroom with kids with masks. They've just been great. So from the staff. I wanted to say thank you for that. I thought that has gone really, really well. The second thing I want to talk about is the Wednesdays. And we appreciate you in the GEA listening to us back a couple of months when we were trying to figure out how this was all going to go down. And the Wednesdays have been a lifesaver. A lot of us, and it's different from building to building, but a lot of us are working double duty. And without those Wednesdays, we would be in trouble. I mean, a lot of us are keeping our necks just above water and we're still treading water. But that was my other reason for coming was, and I don't know what you guys' plans are moving forward, but I'm here to advocate to keep the Wednesdays for as long as possible. As long as we are working with students remotely and students in the classroom, there just isn't enough hours in the day to try and get both of those jobs done without having that Wednesday. It's a lifesaver, and we just would really like you guys to keep it. The last thing I want to talk about is I've kind of taken some, I don't know, just temperature of the staffs here and there. And I just wanted to let you know that right now where we sit, the staff morale is okay, but not great. It's pretty early and a lot of people are feeling like they're taking a lot of body shots already. And it's not anything. The kids have been fantastic. Like literally it's not the kids. It's not the like just your normal teaching stuff. It's just all the other little things that have come up, and in trying to get this double duty done, it's pretty tough. I mean, we can handle it. It's just, I'm worried the long-term effect of this, if it's sustainable or not. And I know, I mean, my colleagues and I are working our butts off and that's what we're going to do. But I just wanted to let you guys know that compared to a normal, I don't want to use the word normal, but compared to this normal time of this year, there's definitely a different vibe in the building, definitely a different kind of, just the morale is just a little bit lower, a little bit different as it normally would. And I suppose that's to be suspected. So I don't know what there is to do or ways to fix that. I just wanted to make sure you guys had an idea of what was going on within the buildings in terms of those two things. So that's really all I had to say. So.
Thank you very much, Everett. Thank you for bringing that information.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks.
I'm having a little bit of issue with them being able to share their video. I'm working on it.
With people.
Yeah, like Everett, I'm just making sure that I can present video.
Okay, and I think the audio is the biggest key, right?
Is that right or not?
Well.
Because we could take a break until he gets it fixed.
Yeah. With public forum, it's an audio on the Zoom. So, they're okay. If they have documents, then I reached out to them before, we could share them. Do you want us to wait just a minute, Jason? I mean, we can pause. I didn't believe that we had the capability to share with that. Having to just test or probably change some.
Does the next person
Some
have
settings.
something they want to offer on video?
Yeah. Can we check with, our next person to see if they have audio or if they have something visual to share?
Do you want to ask her?
Yeah.
Oh, on.
Sunday.
Okay. Hi, Sunday. This is Deb Wardle. We're ready to have you present. We're having right now some trouble with video from our speakers. So do you have something that you would like to share, a document, or would you like us to wait until we can get that corrected? We can definitely hear just fine.
She's muted. You're
Oh,
unmuted.
here we go. Okay, you can hear me okay?
Yeah,
We
would
can.
you like us to wait?
I actually, you know what? It is kind of a blessing in disguise for me if you can't see my face. I've got nothing visual to share for you.
Okay,
So,
If you're okay listening, that makes me feel a lot less nervous.
Absolutely. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, well, my name is Sunday Nesbitt and I reside in Ames, Iowa. My daughter is a 5th grade student at the intermediate school. I almost said elementary, gosh. And she's in the remote learning program. We've been in the district since she was in kindergarten, and we have so appreciated being part of this district, in large part to how personalized the experience has been for her and for us. And we have felt very cared for by this district. We feel a strong sense of community to it. And it is really hard and painful for us to kind of sit back in this remote space and watch how difficult this process has been for everyone and how challenging this is. And I know how difficult it has been for teachers and administration. And yeah, what I wanted to do was spend just a few minutes to talk about my concerns about the sustainability of the remote learning model. And I think maybe this parlays into what the previous speaker was referring to. For us, we only have experience with the intermediate school, and I'm not going to air specific concerns because those have been communicated more directly to Amy and to Lindsay. But I just worry that as this remote learning model becomes one in which many other families may be forced to participate in for safety reasons, it's going to become increasingly more problematic and stressful for teachers and for families. It feels like the model for learning has been really challenging for my kiddo, and my kiddo is a high performer. I'm a little biased, but she's pretty awesome, and she's struggling, and we both have advanced degrees, and we are struggling, and we would love for this to go away. We would love for my daughter to go back to the school if it was safe to do so. For our family, we had to. I know that there was this choice that we got to make at the beginning of the year, but for us, it wasn't a choice to have to go into remote learning because we have an immune compromised family member. There's nothing easy about this decision. And I know that there has been an immense burden on teachers, particularly, I'm sure in all levels, but particularly in the intermediate school, which is what we have experience with, because the teachers are responsible for both in-person and remote learners. And if it's the case that they're having to take on both of these roles, then it creates a bit of a dichotomy because they have these immediate pressures from in-person kids, but then also distal pressures from the remote learners. And then as more and more students are expected to they're exposed to the virus and they're forced to quarantine for safety reasons, then they fall into this limbo space in which they're not formally in the remote learning, but they are in fact remote learning. And so this puts additional burdens on teachers to navigate this additional group of learners. I guess what I wonder is, instead of maintaining the system that is challenging and complex and based on pre-pandemic standards, I wonder if we could just go back to the basics with these kids and allow teachers to do what they do best, which is connecting with their kiddos and supporting them through an incredibly stressful time. They could have more one-on-one connections with teachers if there's a teacher that is assigned to remote learning, so that they can feel supported. Teachers can serve as an outside support for kids. School has historically been a place where kids feel safe, where they're supported both educationally, but also socially and emotionally. And I know that there are other systems, there are other structures in place in other districts, and even in schools in this district that seem to have this one-on-one connection that allows for supports for kids and their families. And we would give anything to have those supports for our kids, because the teachers that we have in this district are amazing, and they can do in that model, they can do what they do best. And administration can serve as an advocate for teachers to support them and help them kind of alleviate some of the burdens. I just feel like we're trying to get back to this. We have these pre-pandemic standards for education, and it's just, the world is upside down. And I would hope that we can all support one another through this incredibly stressful period, in which the rules and things changing from one day to the next that we kind of, we're sitting in quicksand. And I'm sure that teachers feel that same way. And I wish that, I guess that's kind of a long rambly way of saying, I just wish that things were easier for our teachers and for our kids and for the families in this district. Thank you for your time and for hearing me out.
Thank you for sharing that with
Thank you.
us. Thank you. Okay, those are the only two people that we had signed up for public forum. I'm just gonna do a quick check. How are we doing, Jason? So we have a few administrators and we have, I believe, Sam on the Zoom.
Sam and Adam both, right?
I don't know if that is on.
I'm here. I don't see Adam yet.
Okay.
Okay, so are we okay to proceed? Yep, okay. Awesome, thank you for all this, Jason. The next item on the agenda is oral reports. We have administrator reports. One thing I want to say before we jump into one. Amy is here and she is for the item B. This is typically, would we like to just do a quick flop and let her do that and then she can go back and participate?
Let's do
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Good music, intro music.
This is just like,
Okay. So,
the ISB convention.
so it looks like, Amy, on the agenda, you're here about the 7 habits.
Yeah, and before we play the video, typically when I presented, I like to bring students or staff in to come share also. But with the situation that we have, we just did some quick little videos that I'll get to share with you. But a little bit of background, and I shared last winter before we went on quarantine that the intermediate staff was digging into some of the 7 habits learning along with Leader in Me for our students. And 2 years ago through the TQ project that we get to offer teachers to drive their own learning, I had almost 20 staff members join a book club around the Stephen Covey Leader in Me and how this book is all about how Leader in Me is implemented in schools, K-12. They give a lot of specific examples to each level and share kind of personal testimonies through this. So this was a great start for our staff. Through that, it drove like, what can we do? We love this so much. And the staff really felt like at that point, this could be kind of our vehicle to move Portrait of a Graduate forward. And so I had a lot of discussions with Carrie and Mr. Beecher in the administrative team on how we could use this with our Portrait of a Graduate work and what we are developing with our staff and our kids. And so that following fall, I took a team of teachers to the 7 Habits training, which at first we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. And we went down to the training and we were like, oh, this is going to tell us how to do this with the kids. No, it is all about you as a person and how you believe in the 7 habits, how we had to understand them first. But then a lot of personal reflection, like mentally draining reflection to really establish your own self and your own beliefs before you can expect them of anyone else. And so it was so powerful. And I'm fortunate that this grew organically at the intermediate, where I had teachers just wanting more of this. And so again, late February, we got to go to the Leader in Me Symposium in Des Moines and got to go actually visit some schools in Norwalk, West Des Moines, Waukee that are full implementation. And so we got to, luckily thanks to Carrie and Ms. Reacher's support, along with I think some foundation, financial support, train the entire intermediate staff the first 2 days that we were back on site through the 7 Habits training. And that included our lunch support, our cooks, our custodians, and it's really about us as a whole school community and how we are going to treat each other, how we believe in ourselves, and then moving forward with kids. And so every teacher has gotten a copy of this one. This was highly recommended by our Leader in Me coaches. They said the originals, the 7 Habits by Stephen Covey, it takes too long to read. It's not as much of like the meat of it. And so they really suggested this. So over the summer, again, Carrie was very generous with some dollars, and we got this for each of our staff to have over the summer. So we officially started, each student has a book, and it's just going through how to go through the 7 habits with our kids and building a classroom community. And it has really been very positive, and I think this year more than ever, even more needed. And so I think hopefully through the excitement, and we have a district leadership team who some of them have been trained as well and gone through some of this, that again, organically, this may spread if the other buildings are finding it as beneficial as we are for now. So I hope you enjoy. Again, I love to talk, and the teachers love to talk. I said 30 seconds is all I need. They couldn't even keep that to 30 seconds, but they did a fantastic job. And usually sometimes I have to go like twist their arm. Hey, would you mind coming to the board? I mean, when I sent this out, I immediately, within the first 30 minutes, had 6 teachers say, I would love to. I would love to. So I hope you enjoy.
Is this set up, Jason, so that the people on Zoom can also see it?
Yes.
It is, okay, perfect. Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Katie Mace, and I've had the chance to go through the Leader in Me training twice. And the first time was great, second time was even better because there's so much, and doing that at the beginning of this year especially was so helpful. One of my big takeaways is thinking about that circle of control and what's within my control and what's outside of my control. And that has just popped into my head so many times during the day, thinking about I can't control people's attitudes towards COVID and all of the things that are going on right now, but what I can control is my attitude, and I can help share my gratefulness for being here and for having the chance to work with kids. And I just think if we all were able to have kind of that same understanding of here's in my control, these things are out of my control, I think that has just been a great thing about Leader in Me.
Leader in Me has been my personal own growth. And when I come and teach for my kids, they see that I'm not perfect and I have areas in my own life to grow on. And I think that they see that, hey, it's okay that they don't have to be perfect and have areas to grow. And so for personally, that's what I love about Leader in Me is it's making each of us a better person. In the classroom, one of the things I enjoy about Leader in Me is the kids have leadership roles, and the classroom doesn't become Mr. Smith's classroom, it's our classroom. What can we do to make our classroom better? And everyone feels connected, and then it becomes part of our school as well, where it becomes our kids' school, not just Mrs. Griffin's school. We're all part of this together, so we're all learning and growing, and it just becomes a community event.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and I'm in 3rd grade. My teacher is Karen. This is my first year in Gilbert. The 8 habits help me achieve more and be a better leader. My favorite habit is begin with the end in mind. I was running with my dad. I trained for a 5K race and I got it. Second place in our race. I set a goal, trained, and achieved it.
Thanks, Charlie, for sharing. Charlie, is this the first you've heard of the 7 habits at Gilbert? No, Charlie, where did you hear about the 7 and 8 habits as you mentioned before?
In my hometown.
At your previous school, and how many years do you remember, Charlie, were you a part of Leader in Me at your previous school?
I think 3.
Excellent. And were you excited when you heard that your new school at Gilbert Intermediate was starting with Leader in Me?
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you at Gilbert Intermediate. Thanks, Charlie.
I'm Shelby Larson, and I'm a special education associate. During the 2 days that we learned about the 7 habits, what spoke to me most was the maturity continuum. I love thinking that our students each have an internal bank account that we fill every day here at Gilbert. We fill those with compliments not only from the teachers and the staff, but from other students. And we fill that bank account with positive things each day. We also give our students Tiger tickets, which shows them being ready, safe, and kind in an exemplary manner here at Gilbert. The associates in our district work with many different ages of kids throughout the day and throughout the week. And I feel very fortunate that we can see some behind the scenes and from the back of the classroom of some of the unnoticed things and kindness that the kids are doing each day, and we can reward them for that. I truly believe that a smile goes a mile.
I'm here with 3 of my 5th grade leaders, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm Brooklyn.
I'm Charlotte.
Excellent, and they are going to share with you just a little bit about how Leader in Me has been a positive impact for them so far this school year.
Okay, so the 7 Habits has been like a big inspiration to me because it can make like a huge impact on someone's life. Because like the put first things first, it's about where you want to do like schoolwork first rather than go ride your bike and have fun, because usually the worst happens because you ride your bike and it's time for bed and then tomorrow's school. And then you haven't gotten your homework done and you get homework for late. So that's kind of how it encouraged me to do that stuff first.
But first things first. Thanks, Claire.
No problem. What we did is we talked about the emotional environment. And so we took scenarios that people could be feeling, and then we had to write down what we would say to be a leader, and I'll read one of them. The newborn at school is standing by himself in the hallway. He looks nervous, and I would stop and say something to be a leader, and I wrote down, "Hi, I'm Brooklyn. Do you want me to show you around the school?" And this just helps me to focus on if someone is like feeling sad or just angry, then to help them and overcome their anger or sadness.
Awesome. Thank you. And Charlie, how about you?
One of the things I really liked in the lesson about Leader in Me is the project on what I could do to help the school and to be a leader. And one of the things I thought I could do well was put away the books in the library and help them stand with them. And that's one of the things that I think I could do well.
That's awesome. Well, thank all 3 of you for sharing so far how you can be a leader in our school. I appreciate you all.
Okay, our Leader in Me training that we did in our in-service was very beneficial. We spent a lot of time just really reflecting personally on ourselves, our relationships, the way we can become a better person. And one of those ways that we did that was to create a personal mission statement. And creating that mission statement takes a lot of time. You really have to think a lot internally about yourself and what you really want to portray all the time for yourself. So I developed mine over a period of a few months, and mine ended up being to live a life with integrity and compassion and be a positive influence in the lives of others. So it's something that I have. I keep it here in my classroom, and we're just starting to create now a class mission statement so that we can talk about how we want to be as a class and how we want to portray ourselves to other classes in the building and as members of our district. So we'll get into that with ours, but the first thing was to actually create your own mission statement and to try and live that every day.
So again, this just really tries to, Charlie had mentioned the 8 habits, and the 8th habit was recently added, and it's find your voice. And so really building our kids in believing everyone can be a leader, and find your voice, and let's find what you can be, what you want to be good at and do, and leadership is different. So we are loving this. Our kids are doing a fantastic job. Our teachers have been amazing through this, and I think having that common language right now during this time especially has been very helpful for us. So thanks again for your support, and I hope to keep bringing you great updates.
Yeah, no, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
Any
you.
questions or any?
So this was just the first school intermediate. And this is like a certain period of time we're gonna test it out, and then you mentioned
Yeah, again, I mentioned, I mean, a large majority of my staff sought this out. And so things happen nicely when there's the desire and organic build of it. And so really fit well with what we're doing with PBIS and what we had kind of advanced some of our school or our student teams to do anyway. But I think like Carrie and I have been to a variety of things as administrators before this year. And Carrie felt the need that to get our district leadership team involved that is driving the course for a graduate. And then again, each building is different and each need is different. And so I think it'll, right now it's a great fit for us at the intermediate.
Our hope was for the 7 habits portion of that was to start that whole district, but then with Amy's building already had that background. We just felt that they were in a different place than the rest of the buildings. So that other piece is kind of on hold right now, but we will be coming back to that because it is such a good fit with our portrait of a graduate and that common language.
I think it's great. And you know what you said, I mean, about this being something that is more self-driven, I think that's wonderful. So it just looks so positive. I get excited, sorry.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Is your entire staff participating then, or is it by choice, or how's that going?
Everyone is participating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she got all of, like you said, food service, associates, everybody came in for those days to do that, and that's our hope to do that. Good stuff. I heard one negative comment.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Thank you guys.
I'm still okay. Okay, so now we'll pop back up to the first item on oral reports, which is administrative reports. Looks like we have COVID-19 updates, and maybe is the first one. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, what we're gonna do, we talked a little bit in our our agenda planning. And what we're gonna do is we're not gonna go around and ask each of the administrators, the updates. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to do that. I do wanna let you know, it's not like people are floating in and out. Some of these administrators have supervisions that they're coming off of or going into, so you may see them going in and out. Is Ashley there, Jason?
I am. My video, maybe it'll go now. Let's see. There we go. Yep. So I had the opportunity to work with all of the administrators on checking in about mitigation as far as how our cleaning and disinfecting is going, products. The last time that we spoke, we were working on finding some alternative products to be the best bang for buck for timing between periods at the middle and high school, and having appropriate cleaning supplies here at the elementary and intermediate. And we've been able to remedy some of those things. Lynn Reed was vital in helping us outsource some other things. And Dan Wright also, we worked together to find some different products there. So met with all of the building administrators and things are going well as far as that goes. I had the opportunity to walk through all the buildings today, and physical distancing, we have the plexi barriers and we have the 3 feet social distancing between students. We had some situations where, for electrical outlets and placement of different things like a pottery wheel and stuff like that, that there was a need for some different barriers, and those have come in. So that's going well. At the middle school, they're also utilizing lockers now for different things as the season. As we've gone from 50 degrees to 90 degrees and back down to 50. We've got lockers that students are using now, and that is going well. And all of the buildings have supply of extra masks for, if a kiddo forgets or something breaks or, somebody sneezes and all of that. So things are going well as far as those 3 things.
Just so that you know, Ashley is meeting with the administrative team. She's the first one up on the docket on their administrative team agenda. We discuss briefly with her what some of the areas of mitigation or if there's areas that we need to be working on. And we greatly appreciate your work there, Ashley. I know that you got had some opportunities, it sounds like, to do some contact tracing too. Is that right? So you're just broadening that mitigation and horizon there for us, but we really appreciate what you're doing there. Do you have any questions for Ashley? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, would you mind just on the contact tracing, who's all involved? So Ashley doing it, is Laura Metzger? Yeah, who's all involved with that?
Do you, if it's all right, the next one up is going to we can kind of, is Laura there? While he's getting Laura into place, one of the things that we wanted you to realize is what's been happening as far as when we have kids that are quarantined, and if we run into a positive case, and is Laura there?
I'm here.
Okay, Laura, one of the things that we'd like you to talk a little bit about is so that the board members know, I know the administrative team does exactly, you know, the process there, but can you talk a little bit about what happens, because you've had the opportunity and you've done a fine job of, if we have someone that may be positive or if we have to quarantine some of the students. Would you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. So yes, unfortunately, we've had to have our trial runs in our buildings here, but the call either comes in by a parent telling us that they're testing back positive. So then my step is to go straight to Story County and verify that we have a case and that they know about that case. And so we're verifying, you know, the birth date and the right name and that they belong to our school. And then she checks on that and we'll interview the parent and we confirm like the dates. So you're looking for like when the onset of symptoms or the date of the test, and then to get the timing for setting the date. So we always say that the date is kind of set by their contact tracing protocols there with them. If it comes in the other way, where the phone call comes from them to Mr. Beecher, then he passes it on to me. And then we kind of work with gathering our students or the staff members' schedule. So we kind of go through their whole schedule. Then I like to go to the building. That's what I did. And I walk through with that student schedule and the seating charts to make sure that I'm verifying all the distances and such in the beginning. So working with those seating charts. And I'm collecting the names of everybody within 6 feet for 15 minutes and checking bus seating charts, lunch tables, clubs, carpools, what sports they might be in, all of that kind of to take in. So that takes some time to kind of gather. And then I go with all those names and I verify my attendance record to make sure that somebody wasn't out already or absent and not there on that date, so you don't have to needlessly call them. And then I'm collecting all those phone numbers and names and I'm encrypting them and sending them to Story County so that they can do the actual speaking with all of the families. A lot of times we were gifted with it being where we could do it where we didn't have kids the first time. So I had that day to contact people and reach people so that they could not come to school then on that following day. But sometimes you're going to be having it where you're calling into the evening, which is coming up. Like if you get a case in the evening, then you're trying to call those people quickly before they would come to school the next day. And so having a team in each of the buildings that the principals and I and the nurse can kind of help go around and make those initial calls and tell them that Story County will be contacting them. And so then after we kind of get that all started, we're contacting, then I try to go back, and if there's a bus, I want to let that bus driver know there was a case on the bus so they can do extra cleaning. And the custodians for rooms so they could do some extra cleaning in those rooms. I then tried to follow up with a email once we've kind of established that date that the kids can return. And so they have it in writing because these parents are being whammed with a phone call, might not forget what we said as far as the date, and they're interested in the education piece. And so telling them that the teachers will get a list. And so we get that list to the principals so they can get it to the teachers of who's going to be out. So those teachers can plan ahead for their learning that's coming up while they're gone. We also stress that that end date can be changing. If they develop symptoms, then it might change what that date is. And so that's important. And to stress that if they they're welcome to go and talk to their doctor and get a test, but a negative doesn't mean that it is that they can stop quarantining. They need to quarantine for still the 14 days. Are you all hearing me okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And then, so then I have a sheet for myself to keep track with notes and update comms for myself so I can call every couple of days to kind of update, or the principals also have been really good at checking in on their education pieces of those people at home. So that's kind of like the long process, long answer.
So Laura, in the situation, if a parent would, let's say that they would have a close contact of their son or daughter, they would get a call from the school and they would also get a call from public health?
That is correct, because we're trying to catch them before they would be able to come to school that day to kind of keep everybody safe and them at home. So yes, so sometimes they might not recognize the numbers. And then it's nice to have the friendly Gilbert person that might know the education piece calling and talking to them too.
And you've had some help with the contact tracing. I know that in just different occasions, I know that Carrie was involved, and I believe Ashley was involved, just to make sure we're not taking for granted that the seating charts are great. That they're doing a fine job with that. But we want to make sure that if we're going to say that this is 6 feet, that it's actually 6 feet. So I know that Laura, I think, was in with the tape measure actually and checks that out. Teachers have done a good job. I know that we had a situation where we needed a seating chart on the bus. We get that information for, but this is definitely quite a job. But I think Tyler maybe had a question when Ashley was talking about it. You want to go ahead, or?
No, I think you've answered it. Thanks, Laura. So Ashley, it sounds like Ashley is supporting that process as well. And I just curious who all gets involved. It's good.
So do the parents have a point person? Do they know if they have an issue, who to call?
Yeah, Laura has a, when she said that about sending an email, she has an email that has all the information. I mean, it's been crafted and it has her contact. If there's any information educationally wise, contact the building principal. If there's any questions, due to the quarantine person, you contact Laura.
Okay. And do you, have we had any, I can say this, we have people that have missed because of the temperature issue in the morning. You guys have any feedback on that?
Well, we are asking people to take their temperature before they come to school. So if somebody stayed home due to being ill, that would be how we would know that. But we haven't had anybody complain about taking their temperature.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I got a question, Laura or Ashley. I know you kind of called a trial run. You're discussing it. Did we any lessons learned through that process that we maybe, when it comes again, that we may do something a little bit different, or would everything kind of go as planned?
It's just hard. Sorry, I jumped in. It's hard for one person to make like 26 phone calls. It took me like all day to kind of do that. So teaming up worked way better, where we divided up the phone calls, but some of it's going to be the luck of what time of day they call and let us know.
Yep. And I was just going to add to that we have definitely made some changes with our spreadsheet and our bookkeeping of how we are keeping track of that and disseminating that information out to building principals, and our secretaries are doing an awesome job of forwarding calls, especially in regards to quarantine dates and things like that, to Laura, so we can be sure that we're not getting any misinformation out there, and just making sure that we're following what Story County puts out there, and we're supporting their dates. In addition to that, we made a few tweaks to our exposure and quarantine documentation today based on kiddos that, you know, scenarios that we knew would happen, but we maybe didn't have it covered in our slide information, as far as maybe it wasn't school where they got exposed, or a family member was awaiting testing, and how to handle those things. So we updated those slides, and we're going to get that out. It's information that we've given as those scenarios have come up, but just to be really transparent and get that out to people. That's coming.
Good job on the communication too. I've been following that pretty closely. I think the slides have been good. It's been clear. It's been easy to follow. So I know, and it's nice too, when we get questions on emails, we just forward them that link and that slideshow. And I think it works out pretty great, pretty good. So good job on that stuff too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
On the data is much appreciated.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you guys have any best practices going on with other districts?
I'm sorry, Jeff, you kind of cut out again. I'm not sure if that was direct.
Do you have any best practices going on with other districts? Do you share your information? Maybe somebody's doing something, you guys get together, and maybe, since we're all new at this, are we sharing our findings with the other school districts around us?
Laura could probably speak to that better than I could. You know, she's on the listserv with other Story County nurses, and I know that she's in contact with them a lot of sharing things. And Story County Public Health have reached out with just some things that have come up. I know they called me the other day and just said, you know, heads up if there's littles that aren't wanting to eat, things like that. They're finding that some kiddos that aren't wanting to eat, it's actually because they've lost their sense of taste and smell, and they've been so wonderful at sharing information like that with us that way. And I know Mr. Beecher speaks with other superintendents, but as far as I don't know if other people have a mitigation point person. I haven't reached out to them.
We, I don't mean to, I don't know if Laura's going to add something, but we meet with the AEA superintendents if we can share information, and then we're also meeting with Story County superintendents. So those are two options. Laura, did you have anything you wanted to add to that one?
No, I just get updates from, I watch my listserv from other schools, and they have similar questions that we have. And so I kind of look at that. Same thing, like we had suggestions, like we had somebody with just diarrhea and they were positive, just to be aware that that's out there for the kiddos too, you know. So those symptoms in that list are true, you know, they're all in there, that you're getting a bunch of different ones.
Thank you so much. That was.
Yeah, thanks.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine the work that goes into making. that
Thanks,
happen.
you guys.
Yep. Is there another item on there? Discuss changes.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and we'll have it coming up down below as far as an action item. I had an opportunity to talk to Ever just a little bit, and you know, we had a good conversation about you know, what are some of the things that are really important to our staff. And if you couldn't tell, it was loud and clear that Wednesday is something that they need. You can, if you remember back to our work session that we had, and all the administrators had a chance to talk about that. I don't think that we could do this without having that fully remote day on Wednesdays, just that, because we're asking them to not only do on-site face-to-face during the week, but we're also asking them to do a remote type of learning. He wanted to make sure that that we understood. He said that tonight, and I just want to echo what he had said, was the fact that, and you can ask any of the administrators that we have, I think that that's something that, as long as we're going this route, I think that we would like to continue that remote learning Wednesday. Do you have any comment on that, Terry?
No, I think that is vital to the work that's happening. Is that remote learning Wednesday?
So don't want to interrupt you.
No.
Okay, so I know that we just heard Laura and Ashley talk about some of the contact tracing, I think specifically, and also some of the cleaners, but like, as far as our mitigation strategies that we have in place with our requirements, is that no change there as well? I mean, I think what we put in place, I haven't heard that anything wasn't working. We're still using the, like, you know, those rules.
We've experimented a little bit with
Yeah.
some, like I think in the middle school, we're trying out a different cleaner that we are doing if it works. There's a ethanol plant that's, I think, giving us that right now, and they would like to do that maybe for the entire district. One of the things that we heard some feedback from is a little bit of there might be a smell, you know, kind of a cleaner smell type of thing. So we're trying to, you know, overcome that. We're finding that, again, those Wednesdays, whether that be for our teachers, whether that be for the people that are trying to sanitize in a lot of different ways, is very, very helpful.
And we're not gonna lose again any minutes. We stick to this, all that's, there won't be any issues with regards to our, okay. I'm just speaking to you, I know we've talked a lot about staff, which obviously is very important, but just from a student level standpoint too, just as a parent, I think we'll be going in and out of this quarantine, non-quarantine phase as the kids. I think it's nice, again, I got a first grader, but just the fact for Wednesday, she knows it's online learning day, so she's on there for 3-4 hours in the morning. And then if she got to switch to a 14-day quarantine, or if she gets sick, it'll be a much easier transition, I think, as opposed to just 5 days a week, and all of a sudden we're stopping that and just going straight to online. She knows it. She knows right away Wednesday is what it is. She understands it. And again, she's in first grade, so you can imagine all the way up. It's much simpler as well. So again, it's from a parent perspective. I think it's looking really good right now too. My thoughts. So I'm glad the staff, it's all buildings are on the same page. There's no. Okay, good.
I get quite a bit of feedback through the school board emails about the channels, and I have not heard any complaints or concerns from parents yet. I have a couple of high schoolers that are falling into mine pretty well too, and I will tell you, I mean, they're given work. It's not an easy day, you know, so.
No, I think that was the
But
thing.
I don't know.
It was, I mean, it's a day of learning. So I think, like, I'll use the high school as an example, you know, they have the block schedule. And so if they're in class Monday, or they're in fact face-to-face Monday or face-to-face Tuesday, they know what the expectation is for Wednesday to be ready for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And so it's not a homework day. It's not it's a day of learning. So, I think that we've had some tweaks with how we are taking attendance and things like that, but boy, our families have stepped up and got that, kids have that figured out, and the difference between if I'm a remote learner, how am I doing it? If I'm just remote learning on Wednesday, how do I do it? One thing, I don't know that if Deb had something in our packet, Deb Purcell, about lunch. Okay. We now, because we did the school lunch program over the summer school lunch program, we now can qualify for extending those meals through the end of the calendar year, not the fiscal year. And so we just started that last week, and we've offered that up to our remote learners as well. We've had a few families that have taken us up on that, and we have Deb has that all figured. We've got that all figured out. That's all online, and people have filled that out. So
I have a question for you, Carrie, going back to Ms. Nesbitt's comments. How are we monitoring the amount of studies that people are doing online? I've had the same comment come from another set of parents where they're 8:30 at night and the kids crying because they're still not going to get everything done today. Do we monitor that somehow to figure out what kind of a stress load we're putting on these kids that are homeschooling?
I think that that our teachers are reaching out to our families on how is that working for you. Not only are they doing the reach out academically, but they also are reaching out for that connection as to how are we doing social emotional wise as well. And we had our counselors are part of that as well. We had surveyed data for those families that felt that their kids, whether they were remote or online, needed that extra connection. for what they've been going through COVID-wise for the last 5 months. I would say if somebody's feeling that way, if there is that extra level of stress, or I'm not sure what to do, reach out to your teacher. They're gonna work with you on that. I don't, I think it's no different. It's easy for me to say, well, that's no different than if we were face to face, but you gotta communicate. And it's a new format for some people, but just reach out and they're gonna figure it out together. Our teachers are working incredibly hard to make this work for kids, whether they're on site or whether they are working remotely. One thing I think is important to know that we call it remote learning because it's not like I'm taking an online class. It's not a module that I'm going to work through at my own pace. The difference is we as a district have given families the opportunity right now, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit, if they're going to come back October 5th, or are they going to come back January 18th? When they come back, they need to be pretty close within, we want them to be within no more than a week apart from where the on-site kids are. And I think a week is being real generous when I say that. I want you to know that. So, we're assessing those kids. So I think there are some families that have said, well, can you just give us the curriculum? Can you just give us the syllabus for what the year is? Well, that's not what this looks like. That's different. That's not what our system is for this. Now, there are other options. We've had a few families, not a lot, but we've had some families that have decided to just go the homeschool route because then they can do their own curriculum. Some of them have decided to be part of our homeschool assistance program with Mackenzie Hopkins, who is our coordinator for that. Some families have decided they just want to do it completely on their own, and that's okay too. That's the thing about a family, when we do the parent choice, you got a couple different choices to choose from as to what's going to meet the best needs of your own family. And we're going to work with families to be what's best for them. But if somebody is struggling with that, we don't want to, nobody should be crying at 8:30 thinking they can't get their work done. Let's have a conversation about that as to, okay, what do we need to do to make that work? Because there could just be a misunderstanding on something. I don't know. I'd have to delve into a little bit more, but you know what I'm saying. I think we just want to communicate.
So bigger picture, my question is, are we set up to sustain this with our structure? And let me give you a little context.
No, I want you to.
I have a sister down in Phoenix where they did a similar approach. She chose to be a virtual teacher. So they're either a virtual teacher or an in-person teacher. It's one or the other. Her job's totally changed. She's very busy, but that's her total focus. I've got a daughter out in Colorado Springs, Johanna, that they've gone hybrid so far, hoping to get to in person. So every day she's got some students in class, she's got some students virtual, and that is a mountain. I'm taking the information I'm hearing tonight, and I'm asking the questions like I asked last month. How are our teachers doing? How we set up structurally to sustain this? Do we have teachers that are assigned just to virtual and others in person, or most doing double duty? And I'd like to hear from you, Carrie, as well as the principals, just to say, are we at something that's going to be sustainable? Because this is not going to be over in a few weeks. This is going to go at least through the semester, if not through the year. And we need to be ready for it to be a sustainable model and not burn out our teachers.
I agree. I think that we're all on the same page when you say that, Tyler. At the elementary, we do have teachers that are dedicated, what you just said. You read K1, 2. We have one virtual teacher, K1 and 2. So 3 virtual teachers preschool, they're splitting that up a little bit differently. In the intermediate building, what we have going is we have teachers for how they split off their subject areas. For example, at 3rd grade, we have Katie Mace is teaching math and science virtually, and Erin Stevenson, they switch. So Erin Stevenson is teaching the Green Language Arts virtually, but they're flip-flopping. So they have a ghost period, which I would call it, for when their homeroom is, they're going to do their homeroom virtually, but then they flip-flop and they have a real set of students, they're on-site kids that come when they flip their classrooms. So then there are other teachers that are teaching third grade that don't do that. Now, where it gets sticky is when you've got quarantine kids. Because that is forever fluctuating as to, depending on how long they have to quarantine for, you have a set date, but then if they start showing symptoms, then that becomes longer. So that, I hate to say it muddies the water, but it does, it muddies the water for how, because they really aren't remote learners, but they still, you know, if they're healthy and they can be part of the learning, it adds extra amounts to to those teachers. And we're even seeing that at the elementary, for example. We have one grade level that just has a larger amount of students that have decided to go remote for whatever reason. And as those numbers creep up, it's like, okay, when, you know, do we put a cap on? I mean, you can't put a cap on that big remote, but do we need to have another plan because those numbers are getting larger? At the middle school, it's similar to this building at 6th grade, but then at 7th and 8th grade, they don't have those groups. Now they do have, Mike has been really good about, they have what they call team time where they did their PLCs, and now those PLC meetings that they usually have time during that time, that is an extra planning period so that those teachers can have that time with those kids. So they have the team time and their planning time daily. The high school is just like what I talked about for 7th and 8th grade, but because they are the block, they have the block schedule, they have a bigger prep period time that they get. I'm not saying that makes it easier, and if anybody's watching that, I hope that they know I think it's a big task that we're giving our teachers to do that. Now, on the flip side, on the other side, at the high school, they also, because they have given them open campus, they have a larger lunchtime, and that's different than the other buildings. Actually, I'm going to use elementary as an example. They've had to shorten their planning time because of cleaning, whereas the high school, because of the students are older, they've been able to they've opened up campus, so that gives the teachers a little bit more time that way when you're looking at a lunch break plus a little more planning time.
So essentially, elementary is black and white with the exception of quarantine. Everything else, there's the potential teachers doing double duty.
Yeah, and I would say, yes, you're right. Now, I would say the teachers at the elementary that are on-site teachers, they've lost planning time because of cleaning and what it looks like with mitigation at recess and how lunch goes. So they might not have any remote kids, but they're still working. Their day looks different than what it has in the past.
My question kind of stems off of something that you alluded to. So we've got about, I think at the beginning of the school year, you had about 15–16% were remote learners, and of course that doesn't take into consideration quarantine. But as that changes, as that slides over to 25, or as it goes down, I'd be interested in what our plans were, because, right, that's a different look. 15% remote is a lot different look than 25% remote.
No, you're exactly
And
right.
so at some point, it feels like it has to look different for the teachers to offset some of that extra burden. Like, you know, I don't know what those are, but I pray that we have those plans in place, because it is a long year. We don't want to stress out. We don't want to wear down.
Can we do what Tyler's talking about?
No, not in getting to high school, you can't, because we're, you know, calculus. We've got certain.
But Mike, so I think we've done a wonderful job starting this school year, and I commend everybody for getting us in person. I think it's great. I think that COVID mitigation was awesome, and everybody's working hard. Nobody's questioning that. This is our first meeting since we've been in class, and I think the question I have, and I guess I would ask that we, at the next board meeting, we come back with resources and plans to make this sustainable. And if that means more interns, more students, more whatever that we can bring in for resources that can be that touch point, because we're going to have kids in quarantine. And just because you're in quarantine doesn't mean you shouldn't get attention. we've got the virtual already. We got some feedback tonight that might need to step up. Well, again, I am not criticizing anybody in the district. I'm just saying it's time to say, this is gonna be a long year, and let's make sure it's sustainable. And the board is here, I think, to say, you need some more resources. Let's think about how we can do that.
I will say, at the high school, one of the things that Vic has done for, I'll say for English, because we have an English teacher that was half-time. She was half-time, and then she was half-time study hall supervisor. So we've taken that study hall supervisor position away, and now she's what we call student support for the second half of her day. So what she is doing on that second half of her day is she's supporting the online students and the teachers and how they need that support for what goes on with that online learning. So that's one thing. The kicker at the high school is we have to make sure that we have highly qualified teachers that are teaching that. And your certification at the high school is different than it is at the other buildings. You have to have a certain certification to teach certain classes. But that's not saying that if we start reaching out, we might have to think about this. Think outside the box, just like we have to think outside the box on some other things. But I on the flip side, I will say, I think that, you know, that with going to the block has opened up teacher schedules. Hiring the subs that, you know, the 4 permanent subs that we have has opened up that at the high school so that a teacher shouldn't automatically have to sub for somebody during an open period, which they would have done in the past for their extra that extra evening planning period that they have. And that would go in all the buildings for that matter. But anyway, just I agree with you, Tyler. I do think that how is this sustainable? One thing we also haven't talked about, I mean, we've had a few teachers that due to maybe something happening with their own child having to quarantine, or they had it had to do with their own kids having to quarantine, not anybody having to quarantine here yet because of a student contact, but are we able to, how can one of them, both of the ones that this has happened to have been able to work remotely, which has been, but what if when a teacher maybe gets sick, which I'm not wishing that on anybody, but we have to think about that. If we have X amount of teachers that go out, what's that going to look like? And I think that sub is helping that, but I know that we're all in our own, you know, circles of how other districts are handling that, and we're having those. I think we've got a good handle on that now, but we're still talking about those things.
Piggyback off Tyler too, you know, how, if I remember correctly, the numbers, we had elementary, we had a lot more percentage-wise remote learners, and as it got to the higher levels, we had less kids. Kind of going back to the quarantine issue, I mean, in my mind, in high school, if we started a couple cases in high school, we're gonna have a lot of quarantine. You think of someone on the football team or volleyball team or the amount of classes that they move around throughout the day, that's all of a sudden put a large number into a remote space for a couple weeks. So just, again, just me thinking out loud here, really the plan in my mind is almost work your way down, because to me, the greatest needs to be the high school, what we need for online learning, and then middle school and intermediate. And I think elementary is fine. I mean, really, it's not fine, but it's in better shape than the high school is.
You know, bringing in student teachers, could they at least be touch points, right? Yeah. So kind of feedback I was hearing in public forum was just touch points. And I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying, well, I know that means resources. And could student teachers or what other resources could we bring in?
Well, we were going to keep the student teachers out this next year.
Well, we have student teachers, we are doing practical students, but Iowa State has reached out on a different idea on how they could bring practicum in, but not really coming in, but how they could be kind of a teaching assistant to our teachers. So I know that was something at the secondary level, and I know that Vic and Mike are going to be in contact with the head of student, practicum students at Iowa State, and I'm sure that the elementary Stacey and Amy might have heard something about this. Those programs look a little different, but and I know that I don't know how it ended up, but we also use something called American Reads, American Counts tutors through Iowa State for students. It's like a work study program I know that Amy was having a meeting about how that might look virtually. So I think that there's all those things as we continue to move forward that we've only, I mean, what are we on, day 12 of school, 12 or 13? I think that each day we're learning a little bit more and who can we tap into and that kind of thing.
Were any administrators on the line that wanted to speak? So I think you asked all of them, so I don't know, Jason, I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
They can all hear you.
Did anybody on the Zoom meeting have anything that you'd like to add to that? Thank you very much. One of the questions I was going to ask was how is the block schedule going? And I think you kind of alluded to that. That seems to be positive.
One of the things that we'll have to look at is, see, right now we're allowing parents to make that choice. It's for October 15th, I believe, 5th, excuse me. And then the next checkpoint is at the end of the semester. And if we're going to keep that continuing that way, or do something that would be different there. I think that's something that we plan the calendar, we plan that situation where we have the Wednesdays. But right now, what the people know is on the 5th that they're going to want to make a move, that they can do that. And then at the end of the semester is what we said.
Yes, so after tonight's meeting, what we're going to do is we will be reaching out to all of our remote learning families, whether they said they had 3 choices. I want to come back October 5th, I want to come back January 18th, or I'm not quite sure which of those 2 dates I want to come back. So now they're going to have to make a decision. They're going to have to say either I'm coming back here or I'm coming back here. And we're hoping that we can get that information back to the district, back here by the end of this week. So that then if we see this large influx of people wanting to come back, the principals are able to figure out what those schedules are going to look like, what's mitigating, do we have to add any more mitigation, or do the majority, because right now, the majority are coming back October, or they were unsure. But we are holding them to that October. We're going to give them the choice of October or January, unless, well, if there was a discussion of if we wanted to add a different one more point in the middle of there. But that was a discussion that we were going to bring up. Is that something we want to think about?
And when you say or come back in January, I think what you're saying is let's just make an assumption like if they will have another chance to decide for second semester.
Oh yes, definitely. Yes.
Essentially, they're going to be virtual dresses.
Exactly.
Right.
That is what I
Correct.
make sure that came across clearly.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
You know, that we weren't saying you have to come back on January.
No, and then we would, depending on what the situation looks like, are we going to continue this? I mean, it's so fluid that we don't know, but yes, but they will have to decide, is it going to be that October date?
Yes, and depending upon those numbers, then there'll be
Yes.
some shifting on how we do things to make sure that we are always taking into consideration our human bandwidth.
And one thing that we have, I know that the building principals have done a great job of is letting families know that you might not have the same, I mean, the teachers could change a little bit in that, in what our class lists look like due to kids coming in and out.
Awesome. Anybody else have any other questions? Thank you very much for that update. I appreciate it. I know that we have an item on the agenda. I was allowed to talk more about that. I think the last thing that we have, Jason, I think there were some meeting updates and changes in. Did you maybe go through this or did you want to do that?
Okay, I was switching over so that you could see me. So yes, so we've made some changes with the way that we've presented our board meetings. So we have, as things change, we become more virtual with the limitations that we have in place. Before we were just streaming YouTube, and now there's been some interest in public participation. We have remote people, we have people that are here. So we are switching over to Zoom webinars, and Zoom webinars allow us to have panelists. As you've seen tonight, the administrators can jump in we can do that. And then we also have attendees. So we are running the Zoom webinar that we're doing, and we currently have 5 users watching that. And then we're also streaming that to YouTube. And I noticed that we had 25 users watching our YouTube, and that's pretty good. I mean, we have not had, 25, 30 people in a board meeting for quite a while. So I'm glad to see that working. So we had some feedback that last week I had 3 separate systems set up, and that, people didn't like that. It was, too loud, too quiet, whatever. So now we're putting it all into one system. And I think it's working well, except that I forgot a checkbox with letting video being shown. So do you have any questions for me about that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Did you get a proper notice to everybody? How did you let the people and the patrons know that we went to one?
Excellent. So I posted that on the digital board outside. We posted that on our agenda, both the Zoom webinar, the Zoom link and the YouTube link. I posted that on our school board website. You have a school board website where it says date and location. I put those on there, and I chose to put the short URLs instead of the very long URLs for the YouTube video and the Zoom meeting. And then for your panelists, I sent your panelists and your public forum people that have been given the chance to speak. I sent them an invite, and then I also verified that they got that invite before. So
I think one more thing that we've added too.
hold on, I gotta.
Well, you gotta be on camera first.
Yep.
Okay.
I forgot what I was gonna say. No. The other thing too that we have is we have included on the agenda. So we had an issue last meeting, the last one in August. And for a brief period of time, we went down. And a concerned patron thankfully texted to let us know, but like I personally don't look at my cell phone when it's enough, right, to just do this. So I think we gave them an opportunity of one place where they can go to report issues. So that this way, Jason gets notification right away. If there's any issue, maybe it's not streaming right, and the volume is so bad they can't hear it, and then he can signal to me, and then we'll just simply stop the meeting and get prepared. So actually, all of these changes with the storm, with being more virtual, has given us an opportunity to really go through and step through these processes and just kind of turn them on. So I appreciate all of the time. This is not an easy task, and I appreciate all of the time that Jason has put in to do this. I think it's a good, solid process going forward.
I agree. Technology is great when it works, but if it doesn't, we run into some problems. That's why we're doing this. You notice that Deb asked Jason to start a little bit as far as the recording, so we know it's going to work. And then the situation is like she's checking to make sure, okay, is it working, Jason? There is a place if people are not able to get it, just like you said. And we're trying to make it so that it's very, hopefully, user-friendly, and people can go ahead and if they have any questions or something happens technology-wise, we're ready to go.
Yeah, and along those lines, we are going to go through, we've set up a session for the board that we are gonna work through some of this.
Yep.
Just kind of a refresher course on this. And I did send out a message to the board members with those available dates. I believe there is an opportunity to have a noon or lunch meeting the week of September 21st to the 25th, as well as 2 evening opportunities. And so I would ask that the board maybe, before we leave tonight, we need to understand what that date could be. I can make any of them, but does anybody else did you have particular concerns with the dates that I presented? Noon might be not the best for some folks, but.
The evening ones were the 21st and 22nd.
21st and 22nd. So, and they didn't have a specific time. I think
No,
it was just
we just
like
have to.
evening, after dinner, I think is what they said, so.
Okay, let's hit it before we go then.
Okay, so we'll add that to our calendar updates, but I did send that out so that you guys could take a look at that. Is that right? We'll move that down there, okay. Any questions about that? It's a load to carry this piece of it, but like I said, I can't thank you enough, Jason, for all that you've done, and Gail.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I was grateful we had the YouTube thing down already, so at least it wasn't this big shift for us. We were kind of in the habit
being on record, so now this is a nice polished job to make it virtual and get outside participation, so I think it's a good change.
Yep. I think the next thing we have on our agenda is announcements and celebrations.
Any administrators want to have anything that they would like to announce or celebrate?
Okay, and the next thing on there is board reports. So we have the virtual IASB convention coming up in November.
I got your email, John. John said you could not attend, so I
Okay.
will not register John.
Can't be either. I'll be gone.
Okay, and then we can just, I asked that we just email Gail the Ruby, the Tyler, Andrew, and I, it's the
18th,
19th to the 18th and 19th, sorry.
Thursday would be the day we have that. Yeah, once you register me.
Yeah. And we'll just let her know so that she can get that, because obviously if you can't attend. The good news about it being virtual is we usually do get this recorded stuff, so if you miss something, we'll catch up. Okay, I think we are ready to move on. Yeah, yes, sir. So new business. All right. Gail, where's my meeting piece? Oh, it's in my,
6.01.
oh, please, sorry about this.
There it is.
Okay,
That's
so,
the motion.
yeah. Because we had some of that 4 minutes of downtime the last time, we are going to, there's a step here where we're going to need to ratify our action items from that board meeting, August 12th, 2020.
I make a motion.
Well, I need to read the statement real quick, you gotta have it.
That's right.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Due to the technical difficulties with the middle school door system and streaming service that occurred on the Wednesday, August 12th, 2020 board meeting, I move to ratify all action items by the board on August 12th, 2020 in order to ensure the validity of previous board action.
So Jeff made the
Made that motion, I'll second it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that ratification passes. Thank you, guys. Next item on the agenda, construction. We have story construction updates and cost budget summary. Is this Adam or?
I think, Adam, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to give us a little update on the construction?
Yes, so the update really is down at the athletic fields. The fields were overseeded or reseeded as scheduled. It's been about 22 days, 23 days, and seed is starting to germinate as we were hoping. The wet weather last week and the cooler weather now in the weeks coming will be good for it. The contractor actually came back a week ago Saturday and overseeded again. So they are taking steps towards making sure the grass comes up yet this fall and for sure next spring.
Adam, 1 second. You're kind of fading in and out a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, we can hear you fine now. Could you maybe just repeat that last sentence? Sorry.
Yeah, I just stated that the contractor was back a week and a half ago and reseeded again. And they're in a good position now to have seed come up yet this fall as well as next spring, the way that we were planning. So the plans for that reseeding process are going smooth and going as we planned. We did have some leaks in the building for some warranty items last week that myself and Sam and Art came and looked at with Dan and Steve. The roofing contractor fixed a couple of those. We are working through getting some new door thresholds in some other locations to remedy the other issues with water coming into the building. We do have.
And Adam, on those rooms that are, on those rooms that are flooding back, that's a issue with the way the land slopes. I mean, we could put door stops in, but then we'll have ice in the winter, right?
What we're going to put in is a different threshold, much like what the school district put in at the middle school. So after the middle school was built, the district had issues with the original thresholds that were installed. And the district themselves took the old ones out and put some new ones in that adds, I'll say, an additional seal that just keeps the water out. It's I'll say, an added layer of protection. So there are 3 locations at the high school that we are going to do that with now. There isn't an issue of slope back to the building at these doors. In conjunction with the threshold and adding this extra seal or stop, we're going to adjust the HVAC system on the inside as well, because we did notice in the areas that are leaking, there's actually negative pressure in the building. So if there is water that makes it down to the threshold, the negative pressure on the inside of the building is essentially sucking the water underneath and through the door sweeps and stops.
Adam, what Jeff is talking about, we've looked at some of those stoops out there, and we may just want to, meet out there one time and just show that is actually where that's at, that's not letting the water come in. It's actually at the grade it's supposed to be. I think that's what you were asking, right? So maybe if you want to, maybe we can just show, because I want to make sure that that's the same thing too, that stoop is right there. It can kind of be deceiving if you look at it. So I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Adam.
Yep, that's fine. We can put a level on it again. When we checked it out the first time, we had a level out there and we had fall away from the building. So that was one of our first checks. The other item I was going to bring up, we're pricing the storm damage, I'll say renovations. So storm damage that was done down at the athletic complexes. We do have contractors that are putting together pricing for that once we have it all, we'll compile it and present it to you, Lindsay. And that is an insurance claim that the school district will have, and it'll be up to you guys to discuss and finalize how that wants to be handled by the board or by the district.
Do you know where we're at on that, Adam? Are we close to having those in?
I have pricing from one contractor. I talked to another one today. They had some questions. They thought with the answers to the questions, they'd be able to get me their pricing in a couple days. And then I believe there are 2 other contractors that need to provide pricing. So I would say we're 50% there. I think the pricing request that we sent out had them supplying pricing to us by this Friday.
The question was dollar amount. I don't know if we can put any dollar amount on it yet, can we?
Yeah, I don't really have an idea at all.
Digging up roofs, we're taking off light down. I mean, there's quite a few, some different things that are out there.
Any other questions? Yeah, Sam, I guess you have the line.
I don't have anything necessarily to add. I think Adam's done a great job, but I'm here for any questions or comments that if anyone has.
Questions yet? Okay. It looks like we've got accepted, denied, change request for directives. There's just the unused demolition allowance for 4,700, and then we have a series of change orders. Does anybody have any questions about those specific change orders that were listed? No? Okay, because those are change orders, I believe we have to have a vote to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion about that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those change orders pass.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you,
Hang in
guys.
there.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, everybody else as well.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is now it's our time to talk about this. We have the updates from administrators. This is consider approved changes to current return to learn. Specifically, we had set this as a touch base, and I know for sure we said that we were going to discuss Wednesdays going forward. I don't know if anybody else has other thoughts or comments that they would like to add. I think we got a pretty good, we all right? Okay, pretty good rundown, I think, of how things were working. So as we have it now, we are set to decide if that Wednesday were to continue past October 5th. In addition, are there any other touch points? What else do we need to do to allow our parents to help, to get the new information and to make a decision? Any concerns?
I mean, to me, it sounds like everybody's in favor of the Wednesdays. I mean, unless someone here has any other issues with keeping the Wednesdays going, I guess the question to me then is, are we gonna do it to end the semester? Or are we gonna have another touch point in the next 30 days or 60 days or whatever?
What do you think?
My stance.
I'm sorry.
I'll give let's just commit to the semester instead of just dilly-dallying around with this and this isn't going anywhere different in the next 90 days, let's be honest. And at least it'll give people a chance to plan better. Teachers, everybody's got off their minds. We've asked our parents to kind of commit to either, you've got your October 5th deadline to come in if you want to come in, and then let's just go forward. And Tyler's comment earlier, we are committing to this the rest of the semester. We got to get better than understanding what we need from a virtual learning standpoint. So again, that's just my take is let's just, if we're going to do it, rip off the Band-Aid the rest of the semester. Let's keep Wednesdays open for virtual learning and cleaning and chance to get the kids online at home. And that's just kind of my thoughts.
But have the date stop on the 5th where you can't come back in.
Correct. Yep, this is our cutoff, and then we're committing the rest of the semester. So this is our last date for them to opt back in.
Plan, right?
Correct. Yep. No changes to it.
Is that a motion?
Well, I just have one question about that. So, I think I say this every single meeting. So this would mean, the way we have it set, that as of October 5th, you've made the decision prior to that. But then there will be no more decisions for you to come on site from remote. But we still allow, let's say that you chose on site, okay, you chose that, and then maybe the end of October, things changed in your family and you wanted to go remote. Do we still want that?
That was my question to all of you.
I guess that's a question to me. Do we still want to be flexible in that one direction? or
My
not?
take is, we've been flexible. It's, again, our worry is planning around having the kids come in with figuring all that out with spacing. I don't think we're as worried as opting back out is my stance. So if you want to opt out of online, to go from in-person to online, you can do that anytime in the semester. But in order to come back in to do in-person learning, pretty much is October 5th or in second semester, is how I would take it.
Yeah, I'm supportive of that. I do agree. I think it was a good plan. I think I commend the staff and all the work we did in July to put that in place. So I'm supportive of keeping the Wednesdays open. I would really strongly request that at our next board meeting, we circle back to sustainability. And really what I'd like to see is what's our plan for in-person, remote, and quarantine in each of the buildings that's sustainable. Because I think we're probably in this for the whole year. And I love.
I mean through May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, the school year.
Yeah.
And I love that we're in person. I commend our district that we've done this. But I want to make sure it's sustainable.
Yeah, I think that's my thought about it was wanting to get some feedback from maybe Carrie, Lindsay, or administrators. The thing that I'm kind of questioning is that open door to go remote. Like, leaving that open on that side, or do we feel that we would be able to adjust?
I think we have to keep that open. That's a safety valve for whatever happens for somebody in their family or whatever. I think that's to me, what I heard from everybody in our planning was the bigger concern was planning for in-person. But at the same time, Deb, the point being is let's make sure we're covering the remote learners very well.
Yeah, it speaks to sustainability though, Tyler. And I just want to make sure that if we were to have people, now, once you were to go, if I was on site and I choose to go remote, again, I'm not coming back and forth. You make that decision. I just want to make sure that we do that, they understand. Does that happen overnight? Is that a week?
Coming, I mean, if I'm on site and I wanna go to remote.
What's realistic for somebody to believe?
It's
Can
gonna
they
take
set it
a
the
couple
next
days.
day?
I mean, they can go remote, they can say I'm not coming back tomorrow, but we can't guarantee that everything's gonna be in place for them to just, we have to switch them over to Infinite Campus, we have to make sure that, that all the teachers, so it takes a couple days to do that, but everybody has been all families have been fantastic about that. I do agree with what Tyler said. I mean, because we are a parent choice, that is what we are in our hybrid right now. That's what our hybrid model is. So I do struggle with saying, how do you cap that? I don't know how you do that. I don't, especially if if in the back of our heads, we're like, well, we don't know how long this is gonna be. And right now, will be January 18th, and we'll do the same thing. We'll come back together and we'll say, okay, what do we think this should be?
Yeah.
And then we'll give those parents, if you said January, but like, I need a little bit more time, that's one thing, or I need more time to whatever the next checkpoint is.
Right.
But what I was going to ask though, real quick was, we have, and I'm looking for the calendar right now, we have a full PD day, and I want to say it's November 2nd, maybe. I'm looking at it, I'm pulling it up right now on my calendar. I should have had this written down. I'm really sorry that I didn't. I would propose that it's November 2nd. It's a full day. It is a reporting day for our teachers at the high school because it's end of the quarter. I would request that we keep that day there for our teachers because they're gonna need that time for grades. Our high school teachers are gonna need that. So even though we're gonna keep the Wednesdays, I would want to keep that day as a work day for our teachers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to clarify too, I understand that, and I think it is a very important component, but that means that we have got to be ready if all of a sudden 10 or 15% in addition want to go remote, right? And I didn't really hear a whole bunch of plans about at what point do we have to make changes of how many teachers, like that's a real thing. We're committing to that, I absolutely think it's vital. But I wanted to make sure that they also believed that we could commit to that kind of flexibility and respond, and that means we have to have plans in place.
I would agree with you.
So I move to continue remote Wednesday through the end of the semester.
Okay.
And that we, in addition, that we have a sustainable plan for our teachers for both remote and quarantine. And I guess at our next board meeting. So I don't know if that's a separate motion, but I support the.
I wouldn't like them together.
Let's make them separate, but let's do both. So
What's
let's do the first one as, that we will, is there a
So
motion?
The one thing I'd add to the discussion that we haven't hit on that I think is maybe more likely is the switch over to all virtual. And so the idea is, we've been talking about, hey, what if it goes up 10%? It's really, what if we got it flipped all virtual? Just in the priorities of having too many things to do on your list. I'd probably start with that one is sustainability, and then, okay, we got to flip now to all virtual, what does that look like, and make sure we're kind of ready to go, and then maybe
And
I think that's
the spectrum on.
when you say that, John, it's important to know, there's an elementary in West Des Moines right now that because so many of their teachers are quarantining, that's exactly what they had, that's what they're doing right now for 2 weeks. They have just because of the quarantining issues of their teachers.
And so that's kind of what I think is one of the higher risks in our, as we assess this is, okay, let's do that table talk of, we just found out we're going all virtual next week.
And doesn't that fall under sustainability?
Yeah.
It does in a way, but.
Okay, I think that's good.
So I'll restate my motion.
Yeah, let's just do them separate.
Continue remote Wednesdays through the end of the semester. And October 5th is the last date to change from in-person to virtual.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Wait a second. So wait, you say change from in-person, you meant from virtual to in-person.
Sorry.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
I thought
That's why I had to pause. I was getting rushed there and Jeff was pushing me. So yeah, so your last day was to go from virtual to in-person. That's
All
what
right,
I
and third time's a charm.
So I got mine like yours,
Yeah.
we would all missed it.
I have, Tyler made a motion to continue the remote Wednesdays through the end of the semester. And October 5th will be the last date to switch from virtual to
Thank you.
in-person.
She already got it.
Perfect, all right.
Perfect.
I was counting on her.
Now, did you, that is, and we had a second by Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion about that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, on to the next topic, which I think is really,
Well,
and I think yours fits in very well.
Yeah, I think we need to have a round
Mhm.
discussion on sustainability. And I think what that looks like is all the way to what John's talking about, but it's feedback we got tonight. And what does that look like? Well, I would think that's the administrative team. But if you want to engage some of the board, or if you certainly engage and get feedback from teachers, but some sort of a feedback to the board at the next meeting, if not before, that just says, hey, here's some of our ideas. And especially like what we've been asking all along, are there some resources you need from us that would help?
I think you and Lindsay heard us.
No, and I think that, I think that, some of the resources, things, that there's things that we've purchased, that we've done that are helping, that we're in the process of doing for our remote learners to help that ease that for our teachers to make it, I'm not saying it, when I say make it a teeny bit easier, I don't mean, oh my gosh, this is a cakewalk, because it isn't for them. It is 2 full-time jobs. And, but helping them manage that and looking at schedules, I think we can always we've got to continue to do that.
I agree, and we've talked about this, and you probably get tired of hearing it, but it is a fluid situation. And like Carrie alluded to, there's other schools within the state that all of a sudden have had teachers that have been quarantined, and now you're running into the stage where we have enough capabilities to keep things rolling. But it makes complete sense, and it's also appreciated from the standpoint of if the offer was made there, if there's some resources that we need, we can come to you. So thank you very much.
So by the next, we're prepared to talk about that, at the next, and if not, and I pray that the situation doesn't dictate that we talk about that sooner.
I agree.
I think we do need to see that continue on, right? So that it's not just more and more and more burden on the teachers. Okay, I believe there was is there a motion for that? Did you have?
No, I
don't think we need one. It's a
You're not
request.
actually
It's a
requesting it.
request.
Okay. Got it. Okay, looks like the next item on the agenda is the voluntary early retirement program. This is a policy that we vote on each year. I think it came up in the last one, maybe the one before, and we put it off.
July was.
In July, we put it off. We need to have a decision on this tonight because I believe the deadline is October.
Yeah, if you'll scroll down or up just a little bit, it has the deadline right there. Yep.
Is this the same one we've always used?
Yes, sir.
It's limited to 5 per year.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept that.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion about this?
No, I read it.
No, I brought that up and
And
it
we
was
feel better
just
about
me, I feel a lot better now that we've been in school for 14 days and we have teachers in the classroom than I did before that. So that was the nature why I got tabled.
No, awesome. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So the early retirement program will be offered for this year. Okay, the next item, we have one early graduation request.
Right, usually what I do is I ask Vic, the request that we want to make sure that they will meet graduation requirements for this early request. Do you have any comments, Vic, on that? Oops.
Looks like we're just giving him.
Is he there?
Here. I think I saw his name up there, but we'll just give him a second.
Does she meet the requirements?
I think that's what he's.
He signed it, so.
Oh, he signed it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all fine.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Did Vic have anything to say? Although-
I don't know if he's there. He's, like I said, they're doing some supervision over there too.
Any other discussion about that? Everybody have a chance to read? All those in favor?
Aye.
Early graduation request is approved. Gail, financial report summary.
I will be, there's not a lot to report on, but what do you guys think about the COVID expenses? Did that
yeah.
catch out guys?
That's good.
It's good, Lee. Yeah, that was, you knew it was coming.
Yeah, I did the total, and then I thought, no, I want more detail, so I went down and broke it down by the object code, and just beware, so I'm doing payroll right now for September, and then, so that's gonna start, and we did allocate salaries and coding, and so if you're wondering, we have this conversation quite often in our office about, okay, is this a COVID expense or not? So how I think about COVID expenses, if it was any other year, would we need it? And that if not, if it's because of COVID, whether it's a supply, but it's an extra supply because we need more because of COVID, then it's a COVID-related expense. So that's what our thinking is. So we have, if you think about it, 80% of our budget is salaries and benefits. So the salaries that will be coming on as of September that are COVID are our 4 long-term subs, and then we hired 2 additional cleaning personnel. And then the other tidbit to that is, if anybody qualifies for the COVID leave, their substitute is coded to COVID. Now, we don't know how we're gonna use these figures, how we're going to, one thing I do know is, we've been told that we need to report to the Department of Ed about what our savings are. As of last year.
That was an optimistic thing.
That's all I know, but at least we're capturing them, so when that report comes down, and if there's any money out there that we have it captured. So with that, I am doing my certified annual report, special ed supplement, and our transportation report, just a little bit. That was due, it's due the 15th, which is tomorrow. They did an extension, but ours is pretty well done. It looks like our special ed deficit is around 500,000, which is pretty normal for us if you've been on the board for very long. And then the transportation report has been totally revamped. Just beware. It caught my attention. Our the cost per mile increased from 5 to 8. And that is, I checked with Max Christensen at the Department of Transportation. He's like, everybody sees that. A couple components to that. The new report captures a lot more expenses, and that we can only report the number of days that we were in attendance, but all our expenses were the same, basically, other than fuel probably. So that basically will raise our transportation per cost from $5 to $8 approximately.
Wow.
But just FYI on that, those reports, I won't bring those to you until our annual meeting on November, but they're due. And so with that, I don't have a lot more to offer other than Carrie touched on the nutrition. That was good news. We started Thursday, so everybody's free. As long as they take a milk, you've got to take a milk to qualify. That as a free. So the other thing that we're doing on, it was a couple things that brings those changes is the preschool, our preschool program. We qualified for a federal milk program. Well, we could only do the grab and go or the summer program or the milk. So Deb decided, you know what, let's just forget about the 25 cents we get for the milk. Let's just offer them a bag of food and we get $3. So some of those things we're just, we're just analyzing, okay, what's best for the school. So we're going through those. So that was a great thing. Kids can still get a la carte, but everybody's free as long as they take their milk, and then we can count it as a free breakfast and a free lunch. And virtual, Carrie just touched, virtual people can sign up and students can sign up and take lunches home. So that was a great asset. So we have that until December 31st or the money runs out. So we're just gonna continue to do it. That was some good news. So.
Hey Gail, real quick on capturing the COVID expenses. Are other schools doing this as well that you talked to? Are you hearing other schools that are trying to?
Oh yeah.
What are you hearing in comparison with regards to our spending? Is it pretty common across the board?
Oh, I have no idea about expenditures.
I just was curious.
It's been COVID's been really interesting. All of our meetings, and Oliver has been virtual,
Yeah.
and you just don't get as much conversation.
Just
But
that chit chat.
we have a group email that if we have a question about, okay, hey, how do you do this? We send out questions.
I would just be curious. Like I said, we all knew this was coming. I mean, it does shock you when you see the numbers, but again, what you knew it was there. You just until you see it.
Yeah, and so every district, so, you know, it would be interesting to see, how would you compare it to, I always compare it to schools our own size.
You got it, yeah.
Because that's a big, especially if you have 80% of your budget is salary and benefits. I mean, size is a good idea, but, you know, why don't I,
Just a question. I mean, don't put a lot of time.
why don't
into it,
I offer, maybe something on a quarterly, or, I really don't wanna, send out anything until everybody meets their deadlines for the reports. I know everybody's in the same position, but I will bring that up, because yeah, that would be very interesting to see if, you know, do they have to increase their FTE, you know? Because that's a big thing. Oh, the other thing that we did code to COVID was any additional hours that people worked during the summer. So that was the other piece of it. So if you have any questions or anything like that, just let me know.
Where we at on the property taxes? I'm getting them, you know?
We did some adjustments, and it went up a little bit. I don't have that information. Can
But I mean, we had a lot of people not pay or pay late.
Yeah.
Where are we at on that?
Well, I can tell you that it hasn't changed because we received our, what month is this, September?
September, yeah.
We received our September payments, and there was no delinquent on it.
Really?
So, what I do plan on doing though is tracking delinquents this year, which
Okay.
I don't normally, but for historical purposes, it would be a good time to track those. So I do plan on having a separate line item that object code. So
Yeah, I
we
don't
can
think
track
this
those.
problem goes away right away.
And I only see it getting worse as we reach that September 30th, as we go along.
It'll
with
be
this.
interesting next payment,
Yeah.
which is
Because
October.
actually, the collection was at the early stages of COVID.
Right, March.
So it was March. So that was very early. So the September and April is going to be, I think, more of an impact as we move forward.
Can't wait for that day, can you, John?
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have consent agenda. Is there anything that somebody would?
Just real quick, I noticed Steve Olsted is gonna be
Yeah, what a loss.
retiring a second time, and
Yeah,
he's
what a
been a
loss.
huge asset to this district.
He's been here 11 years.
11 years, he's been awesome. I work with him on the insurance side the past few years. He's so good to work with. He's so well respected. He's always smiling.
Oh, he always does.
He is, and I just kind of, again, I get it. We've been lucky to have him for 11 years, but just kudos to Steve, everything he's done for this district, so.
It's effective in November, is that right?
It's November 11th, yeah.
And the funny when he said that, he said, well, you know, that's just an estimate. Well, you better be careful how you restate that.
Yeah. He's been awesome.
Awesome.
So we're looking.
Come out tomorrow morning.
Oh, good, okay.
Okay.
Let me pull that up.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Who has that motion on that?
Those two, yeah.
Andy and Jeff. Okay, the last item here is the calendar. So October 12th is the next scheduled board meeting. And then, of course, followed by November 9th, which will be the annual board meeting. Getting back to our meeting that we'll have the board session, is there a date? What date works better? First of all, should I anybody entertain a noon, or should we just? get
No,
going?
let's, we don't have to do this on air.
Yes, we can.
It's open meeting, yeah.
Yep. So is there a date?
I'm
that
okay the
works best?
21st.
For
And
the
that's the
Monday.
For the
evening.
evening,
I prefer evening over lunch, just because.
yeah, it might be easier. Does that work?
21st?
Like
We're happy to do it.
5 PM,
Yeah.
I'm flexible.
On September 21st?
yeah,
Yeah.
or 22nd, either do it Monday, Tuesday.
I can do any time too, give me 5 or 6. Like, it said after
September
dinner.
21st, 5
Yeah,
p.m.
I think they're flexible.
Okay.
It's all virtual.
Yeah, mine both, I work for both the 21st and the 22nd at 5.
Okay, should we stick with Monday?
Monday the 21st.
Let's do Monday, 21st, 5 PM.
Okay.
And again, we'll get invites sent out virtually.
Is
we're,
this gonna be all virtual?
All virtual. Is
And
that
the
right? It's all virtual, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's
and the
virtual.
purpose is, we're gonna get an update on how to use
Yeah.
virtual stuff.
You got
Open
it.
meetings refresh on the virtual meetings.
The IASB person, Siobhan Schneider, will be the presenter.
Lindsay, thanks for that absentee data.
Yes, very good.
Carrie's.
Carrie, thanks for that.
No, that
Just to
was,
get a background, that you're at 1.4 last year.
Do you want-
September, so.
do you want that, do you want to see how that pans out, or are you comfortable with that just for this first month?
Well, I think this is good. Just-
We'll have it, keep going.
That's that's my question. You want
Yeah,
me
no,
to-
no, just keep going.
Okay, perfect, that's all I need to know.
Okay,
All right.
entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned.